Hey, so I wanted to talk about what it means to set an intention. On this channel, I have often talked about setting an intention and then getting out of the way and allowing it to unfold. So I wanted to talk about what that means exactly, because I've realized, thanks to some emails I've gotten, that not everybody really knows what that means. Some people think setting an intention is just like deciding what you want. And in my opinion, that's not what it is. It's different. And so the easiest way to think about the whole process of manifesting something is to just think of it as causing something to come into being that you can't directly see how to make happen. So think about something that you know how to make happen, like deciding what time you're going to get up in the morning, or deciding what you're going to eat for dinner. Those two things I think are really easy for most people to relate to, because you do that probably every day. So, in order to figure out what time you're going to get up in the morning, you probably automatically, without any sort of strain or toil, just think about whatever you have to do tomorrow and what time it will require you to get out of bed. So you go through and you say, well, okay, the gym opens at 5, but it's 9 p.m., so I'm going to go to bed at 9:30, and I'm going to get up at 5:30 because that'll still get me there early enough so that I avoid the crowds but I get enough sleep. So there's an example of my thought process for what time to get up in the morning. And so then I land on a time, all right, 5:30. So I intend to get up at 5:30. That is my intention. That's setting the intention. Going through the original process of going through what the things are for the next day is where I'm deciding what I want. When you land on that decision and then you intend to do it, that's setting the intention. And generally speaking, with something that you know how to do, it's followed by an action. So for me, that would be picking up my phone and setting an alarm for the time I decided I was going to get up. So basically, setting an intention is when you land on something and you say, I'm going to do this. So it's that feeling of, I'm going to do this. That's setting the intention. And when you're looking at something that you don't necessarily know how to do, I think most people don't have that step where they say, I'm going to do this. A lot of people do. A lot of very successful people don't think of life in terms of manifesting. They just think of it in terms of, well, I can't see how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it. And that's why those people are successful, because they set that intention. They basically activate the manifesting process without necessarily understanding it in that way. They might just say something else, I can do anything. I've made videos on this channel about how if you cultivate, just the belief that I can do anything, even if I can't see how I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And you even think of it as you're going to do it operating within the world without any kind of manifesting, you'll still be able to do it, because that's just the process in a nutshell. It doesn't matter if you call it manifesting or if you call it a can-do attitude, it produces basically the same end result. So just to go back to it again, if you're thinking about what you want for dinner, you're going to go through whatever, your reasoning process is to figure out what it is you want to eat. But then when you figure that out, there's a sort of a sense of settling on it, and it's done. I mean, I even use the phrase it's done with manifesting all the time, but that's what happens. You decide it and you're like, okay, I'm resolute to whatever degree. And of course, it's probably not that conscious. It's just something that you do out of habit, second nature. You just say, okay, it's done. I've decided I'm going to order a pizza. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. There's your intention. So if it's something like that you can't see any way to do, or that you're just lost, like you're in a bad financial situation and you want to be in a better one, setting an intention is just it's landing on what you want. So that I think, for me, getting to the thing that I want that is clear enough and that I feel sure enough about it to have an intention about it, that's the hard part and the fun part. It's the part that I take the longest to do. going through all the possibilities. And this is sort of the part where the manifesting mystics, say, flesh it out in its greatest detail. This is just another version of that. What I do, I just think about all the different things that I think could fulfill what I want, and then settle on something. Most of the time, it's pretty general. But so you spend the time, in my opinion, figuring out what you want. And then when you've come to what it is, there's that step of saying, I'm going to do it. And most people that can't see a way to something don't take that step. They don't say, I'm going to do it. The next thing they say is, but I can't really have that, or I don't see a way to have that, or I better not think I'm going to get that, or whatever. It's like the total opposite of setting an intention. They think about what they want, and then they instantly give up on it because they can't see a way to get it, or they instantly give up on it because they don't think they are good enough for it or deserve it or whatever. But if you think about anything that you want to manifest in terms of the process that you go through when you decide what time you're going to get up in the morning, you try thinking of applying that feeling to whatever it is that you want, that I'm going to do this, to whatever you want. And to make it even, to put an even finer point on it, think about when you're just like sitting on the couch watching TV and you decide you're going to get up to get a drink from the refrigerator. A desire forms, or an awareness of wanting a drink forms. It somehow solidifies into your conscious, mind more. You start thinking, I'm going to get a drink. Eventually, there's an impulse, and you actually get up and do that thing. Or even to make it even simpler, I think I read this in a book somewhere, and I thought this was a really great demonstration of this. In your mind, imagine lifting your arm. Just don't move, just imagine lifting your arm. Complete the movement of doing that in your mind. And then do it. That impulse where you actually do the thing is sort of like a feeling that I personally can feel. And I think everybody probably can, but maybe this is a matter of becoming aware of it or thinking about it, observing it for a while. There's sort of an impulse that comes between when it's just a formulated idea in your mind, whether you see it or feel it or whatever, however you experience that in your mind, whatever imagining your arm moving translates to for you. I know some people don't see things in their mind or whatever. There's an impulse in there between the imagination or the feeling or whatever and the actual doing of something. And that impulse is something that I also apply to a manifestation, to an intention. So if I decide that I want something, and I again, I'm going to say, I'm sure I've said this on this channel a million times, I don't do this all that often. I don't decide I'm going to manifest something unless I'm very sure. When I'm at the point where I'm sure enough to say I'm going to manifest this, even though I can't see the way to it, I'm going to manifest this. As I make that decision in my mind and think about that thing and sort of just say, okay, this is what I want. I'm sure about it. It's done. Make it happen. As I even say those words, I can feel that impulse, that same sort of like physical sensation that I personally have when I imagine lifting my arm and then actually do it. That impulse that actually raises the arm. It's just sort of like a sensation that washes through the body very faintly sometimes, but with a big intention that I'm going to manifest. I feel that impulse when I say it's done. In my mind, it's kind of like the arm is actually raising. So I don't have any idea if that is just a woo-woo, if that is just, completely like just some fantasy thing, that's doing anything. But that is something that I personally actually feel every time I set an intention, including when I set my alarm to get up in the morning. I'm aware of this thing where it's like a creative action or a creative thought. When you don't know what the next action is to take for something that you want, you know, you can't exactly get that impulse that washes over you and then actually stand up and go walk to the refrigerator and get a drink. You have to just kind of have that impulse and then sit back and observe, you know, and go through the daily motions of your life until you're compelled towards something, or until you find yourself just, you know, taking the actions that end up getting you that thing. You know, it's very easy to get in the way of all of this stuff playing out. Like, if somebody can just set an intention for something very specific and then totally get out of the way and walk right to it, they are, you know, they are an anomaly. And actually, you know, the less you care about something, the easier it is to do just that. Just like get out of the way and allow yourself to be sort of walked right to the thing. This is why it becomes such a complicated mess with things that you really want and things that you're afraid you're never going to get and things that mean too much. And, you know, it's way too easy to insert yourself into the process and either slow things down or, you know, have a sort of bad mental experience through whatever's happening or whatever. So, I don't know if that was clear at all. Just to wrap it up, let me try to encapsulate that concisely. So, setting an intention is basically the part of the manifestation process where you say, I'm going to do this. And if you're somebody who's, you know, really, really dedicated to, I don't have to lift a finger, maybe you don't like that language, but it's that feeling of, I'm going to do this. I've made a decision and I'm going to do this. Rather than just, I figured out what I wanted. It's more like, I figured out what I wanted and now I'm going to get it. And now I'm going to get it is the intention. It's sort of like starting the engine that starts moving you in that direction. You know, you can sit around and think about what you want all day and you can decide what you want definitively, but if there's not that component where you then start that feeling that's going to move you towards it, or that very definitive signal that says, okay, do it now, then you might just sit there, you know. And by the way, this may not make any sense to certain people. This may not be how this works for certain people. I can only speak for how this works for myself. And I think if it's something that makes sense for you, you will feel that. Like, thinking about this and everything I just said will have made a lot of sense, and you'll understand it, and then you can act on it. You know, if it just makes no sense to you and you're like, what the hell, I can't relate to that at all. I definitely think that this is a different strokes for different folks type of life experience. I don't think there's probably that many different strokes for that many different folks, but I would guess that, you know, there's probably 5 main ways that, just, you know, guessing. There's probably not that many different ways that people do this, but I think if that's your way, you'll know. So, I hope that made sense. I don't think I have anything else to say about that. So, have a great day.